State 63, UMass 0. That's Nate Bauer, that's Sean Fitz. I'm Greg Pickel from Blue White Illustrated. Sean, let's just jump right into it. I mean, I don't know how much you can really take away from that game. UMass was terribly overmatched, but two keys for me. Penn State leaves the field happy with a win and healthy for the most part, and that's all you could really ask for.
Yeah, that second part is the most important part. Nobody down and out, nobody carried off or anything like that, which is really what you're looking forward to coming in here. Penn State's offense started a little slow, but that defense just suffocated UMass, pounded them into submission, a bunch of sacks, bunch of tackles for loss. I mean, it was not fair. It was not fair at all. But that's kind of why they're here. That's the type of game you're going to play. Get some guys some more confidence, guys like Katron Allen, guys like Theo Johnson, who had 2 touchdowns today. Get those guys confident heading into Columbus next week, because that's the elephant in the room. How is Penn State going to handle that trip next weekend?
Yeah, $1.6 million is what Penn State paid UMass to come play here today, Nate. Obviously, there was a reason for that. They're not very good. It's a bye game for them, but your just initial impressions of this game and what, if anything, you can take away from it.
While also sacrificing the men's basketball team as well. Anyway, that's a deeper story. No, look, I think that games like this give you an opportunity to feel good, right? And that's really, I think, what Penn State needs right now, is to have this opportunity to come out of a game feeling as though there's some momentum, not just winning, right, but just like destroying them. That was such a sack bonanza, such like the defensively. For the things that Penn State did to have such control offensively after a slow start, things really got rolling, right? I mean, they were able to do pretty much what they wanted from the second quarter on, right, basically. So yeah, for a lot of guys to have success and put up, not just good numbers but good performances. Daquan Hardy at punt return, obviously kind of the player of the game there. Those are all good things for Penn State coming out of this game.
Yeah, 2 punt returns for him, sets a school record. Sean, James Franklin had no interest in talking about Ohio State, but that doesn't mean we can't have an interest in talking about it. Do you feel like this team's where it needs to be to go to Columbus and potentially leave with a victory? I think they'll probably end up being a 5-6 point underdog at this point.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I mean, you look at this team, and if they're playing confident, this is the best shot they've had to beat Ohio State in a decade, including the team that beat them in 2016. Right. I mean, Penn State has a ton of talent. Ohio State has a bunch of questions as well. Penn State is not going to be afforded the opportunity to start slow like they did this weekend. Not that Ohio State's going to capitalize and put a ton of points in, but your margin of error is much smaller when you go out to a place and play a team like Ohio State. So I think that's fair. You're going to have to get big plays from unexpected sources like Hardy today. 2 punt return touchdowns for a Penn State record. He's the only guy that's ever done that. Cam Miller, a couple of sacks. I thought he played really well as well. So you're going to have to find that. I mentioned Theo Johnson earlier. Tyler Warren just keeps scoring touchdowns. And that running game continues to come along. You didn't play Olu and Hunter Norzad in the second half. You're trying to cultivate some depth with Nick Dawkins, playing him at both guard spots in the end. So you kind of got to keep riding with what's going on there. Katron Allen, I thought, was really good today. Nick Singleton, it did not start out well, but I thought he continued to evolve. I don't want to say they unleashed him, but he looked a little bit different in terms of his approach over the second and third quarters. Right. And maybe he found something there. You don't know. You're not going to know that for sure, but maybe he found something there. So just keep building on the little wins that they get, and then all of a sudden that could add up to something next weekend in Columbus.
Nate, your final thoughts on either this game, the trip to Columbus, wherever you want to take it, buddy. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't know that this next Penn State-Ohio State game will take on the same shape that we've come to expect in these games, right? I mean, really, in kind of the defining Penn State-Ohio State games over the last 5 or 6 years, they've been 40-point game, right? 40s and 30s type scoring. Can Ohio State score 30 points against this Penn State defense? I'm not sure.
Right.
I don't think. Yeah. Right. I don't know based on where Penn State's offense is. Look, I've seen enough at this point of Penn State's offense to think it is not as good as last year's offense, right? Like this is an offense that is not as well developed. The running backs, however you want to frame it, right? I get the patient approach. I get all of that stuff. Something is not quite the same for Nick Singleton this year as it was last year. Katron Allen's doing what Katron Allen does, but the numbers just aren't as gaudy, and I'm not sure exactly why. Drew Aller, right, is very mature and has done a lot of really good things this year. It's still not at the level, I don't feel like, as an offense in terms of its cohesiveness and its synchronicity, if you want, as last year's, right, by the end of last season. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that unit performs out at Ohio State. I mean, I can't, like, I'm trying to envision a scenario where these two teams are scoring in the 30s against each other. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, feels like a mid-20 kind of game. Sean, final thoughts?
Penn State's defense is very good. 11 quarters.
And that's it. Okay, that's it.
That's it? Okay. 11 quarters at Beaver Stadium without giving up a point. I know that the opponents have not been great, but at the same time, that's a long time just to not have somebody fall on the ball on the 10 and, turn that into points. So that's is very impressive. This defense is going to keep you in games. It's not going to, I don't think, win you games. You have to score points eventually. And Penn State has been doing that against inferior competition. We're going to see what they do next weekend. Notre Dame and Ohio State played a 17-14 game a couple of weeks ago. Penn State could find themselves in a dogfight there, and they're going to have to figure out how to scratch out those points when they need it.
Lots of content coming to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Keep an eye out for subscription offers and more, and we will talk to you next week. It's Ohio State week, guys. It's UMass week is over. We'll talk to everyone then.